Mrs. Tinkerer saw an antique-y looking bread box on Pinterest and wanted me to build her one. So let's get started. Since we're going to be painting it, let's use poplar. In order to get the correct width, I'm going to have to use a piece of 1x12 and a piece of 1x8. We're going to glue those together and make one wide board. Here I'm marking for some biscuits that I'm going to cut to join them. This is a biscuit, and this is a biscuit cutter. You can see the blade comes out and cuts a slot for the biscuit to go into. There's the slot, and that's how the biscuit fits. Now a little glue up. The purpose of the biscuit is twofold. One, it helps align the boards so that they're perfectly even. And number two, it swells up with the glue and makes a really tight bond. So after we clamp it up, we'll let it sit overnight to dry. Now that we've got our extra wide board, let's cut out all of our pieces. As we dry fit them, we can see the overall dimensions. But now we need to cut out the final shape of the sides. I'm just going to freehand this. Now we'll temporarily tack both sides together with some brads so that we can cut them at the same time, and they'll be identical. And we'll cut them over here on the bandsaw. To clean up that curve, we're going to use the stationary sander. After that's done, we'll pry them apart and we'll do another test fit. It's starting to look more like a bread box. I need to make a template guide for my router to follow in order to route out the channel for the tambour lid. I've traced it on a piece of 1/2-inch plywood, and now with my dividers set at the correct width, I'm making a parallel line the right distance in from the edge. And after I cut out the 1/2-inch guide, I threw it away and started over with a 3/4. Turns out 1/2-inch wasn't thick enough to work with my guide. Here I'm using a spacer block to make sure the template is spaced exactly right on the side. I'm going to be using it on the other side of the bread box as well, and I want to make sure everything is uniform. Now I'm screwing down some temporary cleats to the workbench to hold the side as I route it. I'm using my plunge router for this operation with the guide collar installed on it. The guide collar rides right along the template we just installed, and the straight cutting bit leaves a channel for the tambour door to slide into. I'm not cutting the full depth on the first pass. I'll take 2 passes in order to get to the deepness we need. a perfect groove. Now we just need to repeat it on the other side. Let's put an edge detail on our base plate. Here we're just using a 1/4 inch roundover bit. And a little light hand sanding finishes it up. Once again, dry fitted to see how it's coming along. Here I'm cutting a rabbet in the back of each side piece. This will allow a piece of 1/4 inch luan to be inset as the back of our bread box. Now I'm putting a decorative edge on the cross piece that's going to go on the bottom in between the sides. And here I'm ripping the cross piece that goes on the top in between the sides. This is that cross piece. We're going to glue it and then nail it with some brads. And now we're going to install the bottom cross piece. Same method, some glue and brads. Notice my technique of holding the wood with my head. They don't teach that in school. We need a piece of trim to cover this gap above the door. Here I'm ripping it on the table saw. I've already put a decorative edge on it. And now we're going to glue and brad it in as well. We're going to temporarily secure the bottom to the bread box. We can't permanently affix it because we won't have any way to slip our tambour door into the groove if we do. We'll pre-drill and then we'll secure it with some screws. We're using a clamp to make sure it's pulled really good and tight against the bottom before we screw it. Now we're cutting our back out of some 1/4 inch luan. And we're going to just dry fit it right now. Well, that's about all the time we have for this video. You can see we've got a good start. Next time we'll tackle the tambour door, which is something I've never built before. And we'll also faux paint it so that it looks old. So make sure you stay tuned for the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.